Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome. My name's Alison Stewart and I'm going to be your host for this episode of Cut the Crop. Today I'm going to be talking to Hugh Ritchie, who's the outgoing chair of the FAR board, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to have a chat with Hugh and really discuss some of the challenges and opportunities that have occurred while he's been holding the chair's position. So maybe we'll just start off by talking about, the move that we made to, I guess, move the board from being a grower representative board to a skills-based board, and why we did that and what the benefits have been.
So, Alison, the board made the decision sort of after FAR's 20 years of existence to just have a look and see whether we were in the, doing everything we could to be effective and efficient. We got an independent panel to come in and look at the organisation and then make some suggestions. So the skill-based board, the board used to be based around the 7 ARG regions as the grower representatives with a couple of independent directors. And so the decision was made as best practice at that stage was to look at a skills-based board to enable us to bring in skills or identify skills that we thought would be valuable for the board in the direction of FAR and implement those rather than necessarily just being fixed with growers from a region. And I think to date it's worked very well. We've looked at the opportunities around new ideas and how do we add value to growers, and that's one of the focuses the board's had. So again, some of our independent expertise has come from companies with that innovation sort of type drive and getting new ideas on the board. And again, growers coming in with expertise in various areas and trying to, again, still maintain a representation across the various industries within FAR in terms of maize or herbage seed and things like that. So we still maintain that breadth of geographic and crop base, but again, we can identify skills, and then the Members' Council with the remuneration and selection committee can then help the board select and find the right people for the job.
Yeah, and I think that when we reworked and revised the Constitution, I think we did want to make sure that the Members' Council operated more effectively. And so that would be where the representation would take place. And we wanted to make sure that the Members' Council had, good oversight over, everything that was happening in FAR. And so that balance, I think, between the board and focused on skills and the Members' Council being the representative body, I think seems to be working quite well.
It was one of the things that came very clearly through the review was that the members and the levy payers of FAR thought they had a very good relationship and direct access to the board in the direction of FAR. And so again, we looked at the Members' Council as a way of strengthening that so that they are the ultimate decision makers within FAR.
So maybe the other, I think, probably big thing that happened was obviously we made the decision to divest from FAR Australia. So maybe it would be good to just talk about again why the board decided to do that and whether we believe that the outcome has been beneficial.
FAR Australia was initially set up with the idea and of being able to leverage some of the funding and some of the work being done in Australia for the benefit of New Zealand. So that's why we made the decision to go there, and the expertise of someone like Nick Poole that could be spread across work in Australia and New Zealand added value to FAR New Zealand, and that sort of was the driver for why we went there. Over time though, and over the years, FAR New Zealand being levy funded, we had a little bit more of an ability to travel where we needed to travel, whereas in FAR Australia's situation, they were purely grants-based or project-based funding, and so they really had to chase the money on the flavour of the day. So getting the two companies' strategies to align was actually very difficult. We decided in the best interest of both companies. And I think actually it's worked very well that we separate the two entities. We still should have a very good working relationship, but that Far Australia would be much more flexible in their approach to where they wanted to go, not being tied to a strategy that was driven by sort of a group strategy. I think it was a good decision to review, relook, and I think both companies probably in hindsight will think that the decision made has been successful and worth it.
Let's just talk about some of the successes that that you feel FAR has achieved over the last 3 years, because it's important. I mean, the last 3 years has been quite different for the FAR board and for the FAR staff, just because of the increasing breadth of activities that we've had to get involved in. And I think that we've had quite a number of good wins and runs on the board that I think we should all be very pleased that we've been able to achieve quite a lot of progress in a number of areas. So what do you feel most proud about?
Look, I think we've got to be really clear that business as usual, which was adding value to the bottom line of arable farmers, is the core goal, and that still maintains a productivity focus. But if I look at the redo of the maize strategy and how that's going along and being receptive, that's very good. I look at maybe the durum wheat project that sprung out of the back of the biosecurity incident in Wairarapa with pea weevil, enabling us to look at different crops there and create an opportunity. That's going very well. The Growers Leading Change initiative that's come in where we can learn from each other and really expand our ability to extend and get people discussing new ideas, new ways of establishing crops. I think that's all been a very positive move, and that's only just in its infancy. And then we've got the growers out of that. We've got the pathway farms, which will be a really interesting project to follow going forward in the future, is how we can transition. And again, just starting to have the conversation around value add and how we can transform the industry from being basically just responding to commodity pricing to actually really looking at innovation and delve into some of the market knowledge we've had in terms of understanding the market and the value, where the value sits, and how we can manipulate that. And I think also our working relationship, again, with outside organisations, 14Z, Fed Farmers and things like that, how we can actually really see how we can, bring the industry together and look at the fact that most arable growers are actually very much involved in other areas as well. So how do we create a farm systems approach rather than just an individual crop approach? And I think we need to carry on doing that.
I mean, I guess, you've been very proactive in sitting around, pan-sector tables, promoting and pushing, for arable farming systems to be taken into account when, policies are being developed and implemented. And I know that, I've been doing the same. So I do think that over the last 3 years, that more people recognise what arable is and what value it brings to New Zealand agriculture, and I think we just have to keep pushing, that arable story.
Well, we do, and I think it's a very good story, and so again, to my mind, there's things we have to do. We still have to look at, what is the productivity or the profitability of the industry, and so I think, as I've said, we've probably pushed past what productivity can do, but now it's about value and how we can drive value. I think if we look at our environmental footprint, and now we're all having to do carbon numbers, we're actually seeing that our industry is actually really good on that space, and we can add value to other industries probably by putting some of our systems into their operations as well. So again, it's been great in the last couple of years. I mean, yourself, FAR and the team, but especially Alison, has made a great opportunity to really stand up some of these industries when they start thinking they're the only ones there. So I think it has been a team effort, but arabal's got a lot to offer going forward, and I think we have to promote that and try and get that amongst the bureaucracy, because we still suffer from lack of understanding of what our industry is and what it does.
Yes. Now, you briefly mentioned COVID there. Obviously, for the last 2 years, the FAR has had to be operating under, changing sort of restrictions. And I think we've done, the very best that we can to be able to continue to provide good extension services for our growers. And last week we ran ARIA, our annual field day, and we ran it under level 2, and whilst it was quite challenging and took a lot of time and effort to work out how to be able to do it, meeting the regulations and making sure that our growers remained safe in their bubbles. We did get there in the end, and I think it was a very successful day. But obviously we're now moving into the traffic light system, and the board has followed government guidelines and made a decision that in future all FAR events, both inside and outside, are going to require attendees to be doubly vaccinated. Do you want to just talk through the rationale for that and why FAR, along with a lot of other industry sectors, have decided to do this?
And look, the board took the decision, not lightly, I would add, because it is controversial in terms of forcing a mandate, but the reality is we're an essential service. We've got responsibilities, and to enable us to access businesses and things like that going forward, I think the double vaccination role is a way of actually enabling FAR to still continue and provide the services to the levy payers as far as possible. And so again, it was a prudent system and step to take to enable FAR to continue with the most amount of confidence and also the least amount of impact by adopting this double vaccination position. So I mean, I take responsibility for anybody that feels disadvantaged by that session. We will certainly endeavour to make sure that all the information is accessible as easy as possible for those that choose not to be vaccinated, but it is the situation that we've decided to enable the most benefit from.
And actually, I mean, one of the good things that came out of the whole COVID scenario is the fact that people are more willing to engage in technology and social media, etc. And I mean, we established the podcasts, we've done a lot more videos, and we're doing a lot more online training and education. And so, although there may be some individuals who are no longer able to come along to events, they can still access all of the information that would be provided and presented at those events through other communication channels.
It's a good medium, and we're all getting pretty used to it. And I mean, it also means that a lot of growers can access information for a couple of hours and get what they need rather than having to travel or spend half a day. So we know that time is precious, so it's been good. And again, just coming back to your point around ARIA, it was a great morning of really good presentations, worked seamlessly, and everybody respected the need to carry on. And I think there'll be more of that in the future, and it'll just become the norm. So it was very well done, and I know a lot more work setting up, but certainly the information that came out was very worthwhile doing.
Yeah. So just from a personal point of view, Hugh, I mean, what have you enjoyed the most in the last 3 years as being chair of the board?
Look, I've enjoyed the change. I mean, I've enjoyed seeing the industry grow and the change of some of the the move slowly from the production focus to having to meet the environmental challenge. Something you could argue we've been pushed towards rather than driven. And probably the most exciting bit for me is the acceptance from the industry that we've got to look at this value add. And I suppose I've been banging on for a wee while now is how do we as growers capture that value rather than letting the opportunity, shift and go somewhere else. So I think we've got to finish that job, but certainly we've seen from the market analysis we've done and some of these projects like the Durham wheat and the oat milk and various things, and even the straw, utilising the straw, there's there's some really great opportunities, and every time we have these conversations, another little bit of an idea comes up here or there. So I think going forward, to me, the bit is the board and Stephen, hopefully, taking that momentum forward, and can we really develop a way of identifying and getting value options, brought into the arable grower, and again, so the grower captures the value, not letting some company or individual capture the value, but actually the grower get that value back on farm, because then I think we really will see the industry start to thrive. It's got so much to offer, and across the breadth of the seed industry, the grain, the food production. I mean, we've really got some great opportunities. So I think just more of the same, and just remember always that, at FAR set byline is adding value to the business of the arable farmer. So I think we just have to keep that in mind, and we'll have a very good future.
Now, you mentioned Stephen there, so Stephen Berima is going to be the new chair. Have you got any words of wisdom for Stephen?
Look, I think you just have to consider things. Occasionally you have to be strong, and if you think it's right, keep on pushing the board and discussing with the board and working through the challenges. But look, we're really lucky to have a board that is very unified in direction, so that makes it easier. Again, listen to people and look, and I suppose be yourself as well. You've got to be true to what you believe and do that.
Absolutely. And so really just a final word from me, Hugh, just to thank you for the wonderful job that you've done as the chair of the board. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you, and you've been a very good guide and mentor for me, and you will be staying on the board for another year, and so I continue to enjoy hopefully interacting with you over the next year. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for that, Alison. And again, it was, I still remember the day when we had your presentation around what you could do for the industry. So no, it's all part of the program.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hugh.
Thanks, Alison. Have a good day, everyone.
Yep. And thank you very much, listeners. Have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.